talk to you again, but you're in a state you can't get yourself out of while you're talking to me.
So basically, you know I pulled the GoPro out, and you're doing this.
You heard what I said.
Exactly. You know that I just pulled the GoPro out, and you're doing this. You're doing this because you put me in this state by intentionally triggering me. After I was cooperative, you intentionally triggered me. You intentionally triggered me, now you're trying to back out of it. Now you're trying to back out of it without getting caught.
If you want to talk to me later, call me back.
You're trying to act like the good guy. But for the past fucking 19 minutes, you just acted like an enemy. Exactly. So basically what just happened is I called my dad because yesterday he said that I was going to go to prison, that they were going to arraign me, and then I was going to go to prison. And then today I called him to check up and make sure that he didn't mean that was part of the plan. And then he said it wasn't, that's not part of the plan. And I said, okay, thank you for not raising your voice, and thank you for clarifying that. At which point he began to raise his voice at me and blame me for all the stress I'm putting him under for doubting him. And then he spent 19 minutes fucking arguing with me, being like, no wait, let me put it this way. No wait, let me put it this way. Fucking threatening me and showing me that indeed he is threatening me, and he always does it in his way where it acts like, oh, it's just my mental, like he's acting like it's my mental illness that's causing this problem, not the fact that he just used me thanking him for not getting mad at me as an opportunity to get mad at me. And he calls it my mental illness, and he does this all the motherfucking time, and then he escalates it to unreasonable proportions because he has a degree in sociology. He uses propaganda and manipulation and convinces everyone around me that I'm 100% the problem and that he somehow isn't responsible for any of this happening. And then he just keeps pushing my motherfucking buttons and watching me go higher because he programmed me like this. And then he brings it to a point where I'm ready to fucking snap and then blames me if I don't calm down. And he says it's my behavior and that I have to take responsibility for my behavior. So there's no right way to do this. I do it the way that I'm supposed to, I get taken advantage of. I don't do it the way I'm supposed to, I get attacked. Like, and what is supposed to here? Because we just went 19 minutes, and the reason I didn't start filming the conversation at first is because I think that there is a communication conspiracy where people are just trying to make sure that they get away with abusing me. Like, oh, he's getting his GoPro out. Because there's a webcam right in front of me here. Dude across the street could even be watching me. There could be cameras in the house. And so that's why, what does it matter if I film with one more camera? I figured if I started filming, he would behave differently. And he'd probably start there and pivot to try to make me look like an asshat from there. Because the way that he was in the conversation changed drastically as soon as I started reaching for the GoPro. And it seems like this is the sort of behavior that rapists would use as well, to try to defend themselves against someone they've raped. Have my parents been raping me? I don't fucking know. Sometimes it feels like it. But then what's next? What's next is my dad says that I'm crazy. And then he does things that I explain to him make me feel like, I feel like this is why I feel this way, because you're behaving this way, and I feel this way. So he just says, no, you're just crazy. And it's offensive to me that you would even consider that. And then he continues doing the things that are making me feel that way. And he blames me for everything. He says, that's him texting me. He's like, all of my problems are because of you. That's what he says to me. And then he acts like I'm crazy for being like, did you mean that? And you know these head injuries that are so important in our case? He caused a lot of them. Because he used to get really angry with my mom, and I would step in, and then he'd hit me. And they deny it ever happening. They're like, that never happened. And then the concussion symptoms that I experienced during the wrestling match, that's so important in this case. Pretty soon after that, he started poking my fucking buttons again, just making fun of me, and he hit me again. He hit me so fucking hard that I find it difficult to believe that the original concussion, if there was one, was any, like, it feels like he hit me harder than however I hit my head. And he's acting like the concussion is the fucking problem, not his behavior, and that I have mental illnesses due to my concussion that make me hallucinate or something. Or like that I'm incapable of comprehending what the fucking situation is. And it seems like he's in cahoots with all these other dudes that are around his age, probably. And it feels like there's this whole fucking culture simply pitted against me. Like this jock culture simply pitted against me specifically. And somehow he feels completely exonerated from his part in it. It's like, oh, well, we're gonna fucking kill you and get you put away forever, especially if you don't behave after we stole all your shit, putting you in your place, bitch. That's exactly what it feels like. Meanwhile, I'm trying to fucking cooperate with people, but they don't like that. They don't like me doing the right thing. And yet they put me in these situations where they're teaching me how to do the right thing, then I do the right thing and they say, fuck you. And then they call it my mental illness, and they say, well, it's not my fault that you behave this way, and I shouldn't have to deal with this. And if you don't start sucking my fucking cock this second, you're going to prison. Now, they don't say that specifically. They don't. The part where I said if you don't start sucking my cock immediately, that's what they mean. That's not what they're saying. They're acting like, if you don't stop acting like this, it's like, dude, I'm acting like this because of how you're acting. You spent the first half of my life telling me that because you're 40 years older than me, you're more knowledge about this, that, and the other. And yet your 40 years somehow doesn't translate to disciplined behavior. Perfect example is, I'm abstinent from drugs. No drinking, etc. He said he was going to be abstinent from drugs as well. No drinking, etc. Except what happens? He's drinking. He hides it from me. I got arrested for it last year, that he was drinking, and I had to call the police because he started getting physical with me, and I wanted to make sure it stopped. And I got arrested. And now, a year later, I got arrested again. Why? Because I'm right about being abused by my parents, and they didn't fucking like it. I would not be surprised if they're the ones who fucking got me in trouble. What if they're the ones who called the police on me? What if the whole point was just to make sure that I didn't feel like I had any fucking power? No, we're gonna let you live like this, pet, till this point, and then we're gonna take everything away. We're gonna take away just enough, just so you know that you're a little bitch. How about that? That's how this feels. You want to call it mental illness? Yeah, it's pretty sick. What's happening to me? My mind is full of really unfortunate scenarios. However, does that mean that they aren't actually happening? In this case, no, it doesn't. And when I bring it up to try to confirm, and then I'm humble and I thank you, and I thank you that you didn't take it as an opportunity to be dysregulated, and you use that as an opportunity to be dysregulated, then there's a problem. And let me guess, you're just be like, oh, this, you're just talking, talk. Doesn't mean anything, talk. It does mean something. It means that this is a big fucking problem. Now let's see what he said. I texted him, you're just proving my point. And he said, there's half a ketamine in the fridge. Feel free to take it if you want. Once again, my point here is that it's being put on me to change my body and how it feels. Which, by the way, that medication is not in my control. He said there's because the whole thing, all of the stuff, he's keeping locked up. Not because I'm going to abuse it, mind you, but because people don't want me being able to take a medicine within my control at the times that I feel it necessary. Because they don't like watching me succeed in what I'm doing and feeling good about myself. They want me to feel like shit. They want me to suck at what I do, unless it's because of them, in which case they only want me to be this good, no more good than that. And then they want me to feel like shit and feel like they're in control and like they're so much superior to me. That's what they want. And they prevent development in certain areas of my life, and they prune the way I develop in this area of my life. Now, is it because this was done to them in some shape or form? To some degree, yes, but mostly no. Because the generation and the life situations that these people grew up in were so vastly different from mine that they were mostly the ones creating this sort of issue, not being affected by it. Did it happen maybe because they were filling a void in a traumatic era? Yes, but is their behavior selfish as fuck for no goddamn reason? Also yes. That part right there. That part right fucking there. And it's almost a paradox, because in one direction it's like, well, he just offered you a way to calm down. Aren't you happy about that? Isn't this about your medication? Kind of, except it's being used to control me in this sense. Once again, it's all about the context and the way that it's being done. They're using me as like an experiment, and they're trying to control me because they don't like what they've done to me, and they won't fucking get off the fucking point. And what if all these people who have been abusing me are just hired actors because of them? Now, some of them might just be bad fucking apples. But the whole ass shit is about narrative control, story corroboration, power dynamics, and by and large, sexual exploitation, starting with my circumcision and the fact that that was their choice. And they're kind of just acting like, well, it's the end of the road, bud. Either you shut the fuck up and cooperate with us bitching you for the rest of your life, or we're going to put you in prison. We're going to collectively decide to turn against you and either kill you or put you in prison or put you in a mental institution forever and fucking pump you full of drugs that you hate, because this is what happens. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, this is what happens. That's what this is. And for some reason, because I refuse to kill them, they're using that against me to try to make me seem even worse. Because I refuse to kill my own parents. They're using that to say, well, since you're not doing anything about it, bitch, then we're going to keep doing it. That's what this is. So what am I going to do? Do I take the esketamine? It's like the Kool-Aid. You see what I'm saying? It's just like the Kool-Aid. Do I take the esketamine and acknowledge that this person is fucking manipulating me and then just deal with it? What do? I don't want to kill my parents. I don't want to kill my parents. I don't want to kill anybody. But unfortunately, tons of people apparently have been enlisted. I don't know how many. This is the thing. I'll only find out if it comes to combat and I survive. I'll only find out how many there are involved until it comes to that. And then I'll have to live the rest of my life fearing the next combat scenario. That's the kind of bullshit that they've done. That's the kind of bullshit that they've set up. So what the fuck do I do? And the whole thing is like, oh, your behavior is unacceptable, Alec. It's not like anything we do is a problem. That's what I'm getting at. Because for some reason, they never get in trouble in a way that I can recognize, at least. And for some reason, it's always me getting in trouble. And I know for a fact it's not fair to say that it's all my fault, because in that part of the conversation, there's discrepancies. There's a clear logical paradox, and it's always done in a manner where if I try to document it, and by the way, guess who's in control of all the stuff that I could use to document it? People of that generation. Like the GoPro and the computer. Bill Gates is of that type of generation. My point exactly. But for some reason, as soon as I start being able to collect enough evidence of this to prove it, all of a sudden it changes. Here's a great example of this. The fucking videotape of me being born, you can clearly hear the first thing my mom says after I'm out of her womb is, "Oh, it's a boy. Oh, we need to schedule a circumcision." And then when I tried to talk to her about it, she's like, "No, it was the nurse who said it, not me." I'm like, "Mom, I just watched the fucking video. You guys just let me watch the video. I just watched the motherfucking video, and I'm telling you that you said it." She's like, "No, I didn't. It was the nurse." And I'm like, "Okay, then come watch the video." She's like, "No, you shouldn't be doing this to me." What do you mean? What am I doing to you? What do you mean? Bitch. And then my dad is like, "Well, it wasn't her. I'm the one who made the decision." Okay, but you told me that nobody knew I was going to be a boy until I was born. You told me that. So how did you make the decision if she was the one who said it? Explain that to me. You won't. Or now you have a very specific explanation, and then you're going to look at me with squinty eyes and be like, "See what I did there? You can't prove it this way or the other," but you know what the answer is. You know what the answer is. Because it's a societal conspiracy. Unless I'm mistaken, which I don't think I am, but I could be. I'm saying in this next part, how many males in America were circumcised? Like, what was the trend at the time in 1995? I think about half of the boys, if not more. It was pretty unusual. So it was a cultural thing where people use this experience as an excuse to do things that are inappropriate to other people, and to just hide it, and to deny it, and to act in a way where they band together against people who are trying to speak out against it. Because guess what? If you speak out against it, you're a loser, because everyone else is in on it. And we got the bombs, bitch. We got the bombs, so what the fuck are you gonna do about it? We're 40 years older than you, bitch. What are you gonna do about it? Castrate yourself? That's what this feels like. 100% that's what it feels like. And I feel like if I were wrong about this, people would explain it to me much more simply. People would respond to me much more simply. They would say much more reassuring things, and they would stop fighting me. They would stop being like, "Well, no, you're wrong, and it's all your fault." So that is what makes me feel like it isn't. It's what makes me angry that I'm being blamed for someone else's behavior. And then what your excuse is, "Well, that's your mental illness." Your excuse is that that's my mental illness, and I'm just trying to avoid taking responsibility for my own behavior, even though I have done so much. And this is the thing, that you'd be, "Well, I did so much to help you." Okay, then why are you treating me like that? Because you're stressing me out. Okay, but when I say I'm behaving this way because you're stressing me out, you say that's not legitimate and that it's my mental illness and I need to take responsibility for that. But when you act the same way and you say that it's my fault because I'm stressing you out, or even if you say, "Well, it's not your fault," either way, you're still saying that it's something I need to change, not something that you need to change. And it only happens in the context of when you say that towards me, and then I say, "Well, you're giving me this explanation. How come it doesn't apply to you?" You don't have an answer for that. Or you might come up with something, but you still don't have a legitimate answer. So this just makes me think that you wanted a quick bang, you got in too deep, or maybe my mom was in on it. This is the thing. There's so many different possibilities. of how you could be fucking setting me up for failure and involving all these other people. And what you haven't done is communicated with me in a way that shows that you're not doing this. Because every time you quote-unquote help me, you do it in a way that leaves this door wide the fuck open for the possibility that you're actually not fucking helping me at all and that you're just setting me up for failure. And you keep calling it my mental illness, that I have a disease. But if you look at what that word means, dis-ease, it is making me uneasy. It makes me not feel good. And that mental illness, okay, yeah, it's pretty sick what you're doing to me. And I don't mean that in a good way. And it seems like you're just seeing how much you can get away with before I fucking kill you or hurt myself so badly that you never see me again. That's what it feels like. That you're basically, I don't even know at this point in my life, how many times have I had my memory wiped? Have you been using me as a prostitute? Or are you just trying to turn me into one? This whole slavery situation? It just seems like no matter how correct I am, society is just going to band against me because people are just trying to not be the one who sticks out and gets in trouble. Because that's how this works, according to you guys. Is that you're saying the way it works is that corrupt behavior is all there is, and if you go against the many, you will be made an example of. And it starts with parents. Where does the idea of a government come from? Why couldn't I get Invisalign before I had my wisdom teeth pulled? Why was an important piece of my penis cut off without my consent? Why is it that when I finally found what was working for me, it was taken away from me and I was told that it's illegal and that we're taking this too because it was involved? And why does that pair up so exactly with my dad taking things away from me when he didn't like my behavior when I was a kid? And somehow it's never his fault, and it's always mine. Somehow I'm always the one that's behaving inappropriately, and somehow it's never him. Take my Game Boy away. Take my computer away. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Okay, well now you don't get that anymore. Ha ha. Now you don't get to have that anymore. Ha ha. Now look what I'm doing. Ooh, look, I get to do what I want, but you don't. Ooh. That's what you're doing. And you don't care if I kill you because you're a sick motherfucker. You don't care if I kill you. You're hoping I do so that you can get away with it. So that you can fucking treat me like a stupid little bitch my whole life and then get away with it. And why would I not be surprised if you're changing everything I'm saying? Why would I not be surprised if you just have some AI filter that makes everything I say sound like some bullshit? And it's all coming to a head now because I finally exposed the full crux of the issue. And I'm being threatened with the end. This isn't about me hallucinating. This isn't about me being incorrect because of my mental illness. This is the fact that I have pain and suffering because people are treating me unjustly. And that those things are being labeled in a way that can be used against me instead of people taking responsibility for their own actions. That people are threatening me instead of just acknowledging that they were incorrect. And taking me to prison isn't the answer either, because I have a life built. Either way, if you take me to prison, you're just taking it away from me. But if nobody does anything about the way my parents are behaving, well, then they're just going to keep trying to... They're just going to keep trying... You know what it is? Prison to them is just putting me in timeout. And I know that because they always say it's my behavior that causes it. And they always say it has nothing to do with their behavior. That's how I know. And all the times I've been hit, and all the times my mom said that she wasn't going to be complicit to him bullying me, but then just giving up and just being like, because he just fucking, I don't know, either tortures or coerces her, or she's just lying in the first place. But she always ends up fucking taking his side in the end. At the crucial moment where she could have helped me. So long ass story short, people are doing a bunch of fuck ass bullshit and then blaming me. Long ass motherfucking story short. So what should I do? Take the esketamine and acknowledge that it's Kool-Aid to be used against me? Or say fuck all that and commit double patricide? There's obviously other options. That was an extreme option. Something that I'm not inclined to want to do. But this is the problem, is that I'm being coerced into a certain way of behavior. Maybe it's not the right thing to do. Maybe patricide is correct. Maybe that is the correct thing to do. I don't feel like doing that because it sounds very uncomfortable, but maybe that's my problem. Maybe my problem isn't that I'm behaving inappropriately. Maybe the problem is that I'm not ending the lives of the people who are perpetuating it. Because once they're gone, no matter what the scenario is, it's fair game. People can either say good job and pat me on the back, or they can try to retaliate. It's not up to them anymore to control the narrative. I might die from it immediately, or it might solve all my problems. But either way, it's not something I want to do. And that is why I feel like I'm being abused, simply because I've decided I don't want to kill my parents. I feel like they're using that as an excuse to fucking double down on me, and they're trying to do it in a way that I get put away in prison and that they get to live their selfish fantasy lives away from me without ever having actually properly supported and raised me to the point where I can be independent, because they always just blame me. Meanwhile, they perpetuate a stereotype against me so that they don't get in trouble for what they did. And that has crippled me. And so even if at this point they are genuinely trying to help me, the communication is not in a way that indicates that to me. It is indicating to me, okay, wait, so you guys are acting like you're helping me, but really what you're doing is doing that so that it's harder for me to rebel while you get me fucked over. That's what the communication is saying to me. And they always just say that's my fault for interpreting it that way because I have a mental illness. But what is actually happening is that it's being confirmed that they are treating me that way. And that is why I feel that way. And that the word that they're using to describe that is mental illness. Basically acknowledging that their behavior is causing my mental illness without admitting it. That's what they're doing. They're getting as close to saying that as they can without saying it in a way that would break the rules. But either way, it's kind of messed up. Either way, it's exactly what they're saying. It's usually my dad doing this, but my mom has said some pretty fucked up things too. And they keep saying they understand that they're not supposed to be treating me that way, and that's why this stuff is going wrong. But then they go back and they say, after they have some time to plot against me, they go back and say, well, I don't remember that. They change the scenario, and then they go back and say, well, I don't remember that. And every time I point something out about what they did, they go, oh, well, your treatment's not working, is it? Because you're still acting like you have a mental illness. So your treatment's not working, is it? As though, okay, well, so we gave you this, but you still want us to behave like responsible adults and parents? Fuck that, bitch. Go the fuck to sleep. That's what they're acting like. It's basic, like, fucked up parenting 101. And no matter how much they do this shit where it's like, oh, but we did this for you, and we did this for you, and wasn't this a good time? They always try to use that to justify the way that they abuse me. That's what it is. It's abuse. And it's difficult for me because as them being my parents and who I am, I don't want them to just get fucked up and disappear. But it seems to be what they're trying to do. It seems like they're just trying to escape me before they ever properly finish parenting me. And like they've just got this fucking escape route. Excuse me. I'm getting like rabies symptoms. That's how fucking angry this shit makes me. And what good is making this video gonna do? Because it's exactly the same place that I was in. Making this video doesn't change anything except for the fact that I made the video. But what good does it actually fucking do? What was the point of my motherfucking life if my whole life I'm just gonna be treated like someone whose only end is getting institutionalized or killed? Like, if I don't act how they want me to act, which is unreasonable because it utilizes double standards and is obviously selfish, well then for some reason I'm going to suffer the ultimate consequence. And let me guess, it's because I'm a little nigger, right? Or is it just because I say that, even though it's what I've been taught to say? You tell me not to say it, you say it. You tell me not to say it, you fucking say it. You say it against me, but you tell me it's not okay to call myself one. So what's this really about, huh? What is it really all about? And if I confront my dad and say, I feel like you're using the esketamine to avoid having to take responsibility for the way that you react to me, and instead just telling me to calm down, and using it as a reward for not like turning against you or something. If I do that, he'll respond with something that still won't acknowledge that his behavior is part of the problem. It doesn't matter what he says after that. He's going to try to present it as though I'm crazy for thinking that he's doing something manipulative. Except that he says shit directly to my face. When we're in an argument, he says shit directly to my face that is like, oh, well, I guess then I'm going to do this, so I'm not going to help you anymore. I'm turning against you. And then when I ask him about it, he acts like, oh, well, that's not, that's not how I meant it. It's like, but you said it in a way that was very clearly hostile and showed intent to follow through. And then you act like, either like, yeah, usually it's like, well, that's your perception of it. It's like, that is a very reasonable perception of that event, given what transpired. And especially the way that we've had these interactions before, and where it almost always leads to me being harmed, and then you pretty much entirely almost always say, well, that's what you get, basically. That's what you get. It's pretty sick. Not in a good way. Once again, do I want my parents to just disappear? No. It's a similar issue, too, like, to anyone who's going to try to fucking judge them. What's the point of being punishing to them? Especially when you probably haven't done any better with your life. What I want is for them to stop doing that. When I show humility and gratitude like I'm asked, after communicating like I'm asked to do, because we've seen that if I don't communicate about these things, then I can't have a clear picture of what's going on. But then my dad says, well, I don't want you to talk to me anymore. You're stressing me out. I don't want you to talk to me anymore. Okay, does that mean you're going to try to get me put in prison? He's like, what it means is that if you don't change your behavior, you're going to go to prison. It's like, no matter how much I change my behavior, that still seems to be the response. Because when I finally go, okay, I'm grateful, thank you for communicating that without becoming upset at me, you go, now I'm going to get upset at you, and now I'm going to blame you. Even if you say, now I'm not blaming you, it doesn't change the fact that you just blamed me for 20 minutes. 15. And there's this long-standing history of you using little tiny facts against people and then blaming them if they get any little tiny thing wrong, but then being like, well, that's not important if it's used against you. Oh, the semantics don't matter if it's your mistake. Or the details don't matter if it's your mistake. Then you go, the facts are the most important thing, and then you go, well, what's more important, the facts or my point? When all your point seems to be is that you think that you're better than me, and you think that you've got me in some sort of fucking chokehold. And that you could squeeze tighter if you wanted. That seems to be your whole point. And my whole point is, don't you realize that it goes both ways? And you keep responding with, no, it doesn't. You keep saying, no, it doesn't. Everything you do against me is your fault, not a result of me treating you like this. And so it once again comes back, and you call me a bitch all the time when you get upset. Not all the time on a regular basis. Clarifying that I'm not using hyperbole. This isn't constant speech pattern. It's just when we get into this debate part of the process. And especially the part of the process that involves you actually looking at your own behavior and realizing that you're doing the exact same thing to me that you're complaining about. And then that enables other people to treat me like that. And then I don't stand a chance in society. And then you blame me for not being able to fucking function in society. And you say it's my fucking fault. Long ass fucking story short, it seems like nobody gives a fuck about me. Specifically. And I try to use communication skills in order to find out if that's true or not. And then you use that against me. So imagine how that feels. You keep saying you want me to have sympathy for you and empathy for you. That's what I was doing by saying thanks for not raising your voice at me. And then what'd you start doing? You started trying to guilt trip me. It's like, oh, well, saying sorry is an admission of guilt in court. That's where you're going with this. Meanwhile, what are parents supposed to teach their kids? That sorry is not an admission of guilt. It's an acknowledgement that something hurt someone and they don't want them to be hurt. But instead of that, which is how I'm using it, instead of that, it's being received as an opportunity to try to guilt trip me. So how am I a bitch for withstanding this sort of treatment and not resorting to serious violence? There's been a history of us putting our hands on each other. But how have I been dealing with this and not have resorted to violence? And, you know, you're saying like, oh, well, because don't you like your chair? Don't you like your computer? These things that we all use against you and apparently have no inherent value simply because they're set up by people who have made sure that it'll never give you independent benefit? Is that the reason that I'm a bitch because I don't want to live in squalid poverty after being told that this was a life that I was building? And that was going to be it's all going to be taken away from me because it turns out you guys were lying about loving me? That's why I'm a bitch? And so you're saying all I have to do to not be a bitch is kill you. That's what you're saying. And you think that I agree with that or something. You think I'm just going to go, "Yep, that's reality." Because you told me my reality is wrong. So now everything you say is fact. That's what you're doing. That's how you're trying to make me feel. Every time you say you're not, and then yell at me, and then attack me with your words, you're just showing me that that's not the case. And you have to understand what doesn't go both ways is who's the parent and who's the kid. That's what doesn't go both ways. So if you're going to be the parent, you have to do the parenting. You can't then just be like, well, it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. No, it's your fault. If it's anyone's fucking fault, it's your fucking fault. And you need to stop being so emotionally fragile that you can't handle that. Do we both have responsibility in the situation? Yeah. We do. But it's not fair to treat me my entire life like I'm the fucking evil person who's always the problem when I behave this way because of my parents and the people around me. I didn't just come up with this fucking I didn't come up with this behavior out of nowhere. And if I did, why are you attacking me for it? When I'm correct. You're just saying I'm not correct. Well, the logic that you're using to say I'm incorrect could also be used from my perspective to say that you're incorrect. And then you say, well, the reason it's not like that is because I'm wrong and you're not. And then the only thing you use to back that up is force. Violence. Threats of violence, use of violence. And then you deny its violence by putting me in a fucking box or drugging me up. And say, look, we're being nice to you. Why? Because I gave people a chance? One of these days, it's got to come to an end. One way or another, something's going to come to an end. And I'm trying to communicate with people in the way that I'm being asked to communicate. But when that respect is not shown to me, and I'm being told that everything I'm doing is wrong, and that nothing they're doing is wrong, well, that's obviously not true. It's obviously not true. It's so obviously not true that you're just insulting me by saying it. And that's what you keep saying about me, is that somehow that I'm asking you if you're behaving in this way, somehow that is so offensive to you that you feel justified in being offensive to me. When you're not looking at it from my perspective, and your reason that you're not looking at it from that perspective is because you say my perspective's wrong. But yet you're asking me to look at it from your perspective, saying that you're right. But the only thing that you're using to back it up is force in a history of violence. That doesn't mean someone's right. You might say might is right. That doesn't mean someone's right. I could say that you're a girl and then beat the fuck out of you just because you're a smaller guy than me and you're not as well trained as me. That doesn't mean that you're a girl. But that's the logic that you're using against me. Oh, well, I said you're a girl and then I beat the fuck out of you. So now we're going to transgender you. That's the level of insanity. It's just a different pathway. You've just chosen a different pathway. You've chosen like prison and mental institutions. You've just chosen that instead of trying to force me into being a transgender operation case, which might be next. Who knows? Hypothetically, I've still got a long enough lifespan. You might try that also. And this is all spawning out of, I asked if you were plotting against me because of something that you said that sounded very much like you were plotting against me. And then you said that that's my fault for interpreting it that way. And then you behaved in a way that confirmed to me that it does feel like you're plotting against me. But only because we got to the part where you said no and I said, okay, thanks. And I appreciate what you're doing for me. And then you use that as an excuse to say, well, you're making me feel bad and you need to change your behavior, when I didn't do anything bad. All I asked was this thing that you said, which sounded very suspicious. It sounded like you're trying to get me put in prison, or that you're just accepting that that's what's going to happen, rather, that it's part of the plan. That it's part of it's just what's going to happen. And then you're saying that just because I thought that might have been serious, that you might have meant it, that somehow that is my fault, or that it's my mental illness, and it's on me, and it's not true. And therefore that's an excuse for you to say that I need to change my behavior and you don't. But not in a way where it's like reassuring, in a way where it feels threatening. And that's the problem. And you're saying that it's just my fault. But you won't even acknowledge these things that you've done to hurt me. And you just say, well, it's not meant to hurt you, it just does. But once again, once it goes the other way, and this isn't because, the thing is, you're choosing something that won't be proven as true or false until it happens. And even then, there's a period after that, it will take a long time. It's the same type of thing as when someone's trying to get away with murder. People behave the exact same way, trying to create situations where it's not resolved, and then using excuses to try to hide the possibility that there might be some nefarious activity going on. How do I know you weren't raping me? How do I know you haven't even been raping me to this day? What if that's the world we live in? And that you've been filming me even? Is that the life that you've left me with? For what? For doing my best? Because you just want to use me as entertainment to see me frag out and die? And so, you put me on esketamine after taking away the DMT from me, even though you made it very clear we were moving in the direction of that being an acceptable thing to do, especially if you put in the work, especially since I've put in the work. But then, We take it away. We take everything I work for, my studio laptop, replace it with the esketamine, which, whoa, one timeline is, oh, it's helpful. See, look, we got your back, right? You still have something, don't you? Even though, whoa, so scary. Who could have done this to you? But then you act like my behavior is unacceptable anyway, no matter what I do, and like your behavior isn't the problem. It's only my behavior. Meanwhile, you refuse to change. And then you say, oh, well, it's not helpful. The escetamine's clearly not helpful. The ketamine's clearly not helpful. And if you had just behaved the way we told you, then we could have used it in court to say that it is helpful, and therefore the DMT could be helpful as well. And that's why, even though you're not going to get it back, because it's ours now, that maybe we don't have to put you in prison because you've been a nice little bitch this year. Right? But then if I say, hey, I don't like you talking to me like that, and that's not what this is about, and that's not what we agreed on, you say, oh, well then guess what? Either take an esketamine and calm down, you bitch. Or I'm sorry, we can't say that it's helpful in court, which means, well, guess what? We can't say that what you were doing was helpful in court. So sorry, bye-bye. Sorry it had to end like this. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bitch. That's essentially what this has come down to.